We used computer vision, which is a branch of artificial intelligence, to measure Carlos Alcaraz's serve, and then we compared his serve to two amateur serves, Dan and Jess. So in this video, I'm going to show you the two hidden serve mistakes that only a computer can see, including the biggest break I'm seeing in the kinetic chain. It is this one right here. And this is absolutely nuking your ability to serve 100 miles an hour or faster. So if you could only pick one mistake to fix, it would be this one right here. So computer vision allows a computer to watch you serve, understand what it's looking at, and pull all the data so that it can be analyzed. It can track every joint in your body, the ball, and the racket, and it has no trouble seeing everything, even when a pro is serving 130 miles an hour, which is something the human eye simply cannot do. So this will allow you to fix mistakes you don't even know you're making. So let's start with this chart right here. We are measuring something called vertical hip displacement. This is for Carlos Alcaraz. And vertical hip displacement, we are tracking his back right hip. And here is max knee bend. So that's when he's got his knees as bent as they are going to be right before he jumps. And this is him jumping. And then here is contact, that red dot right here. So vertical hip displacement is how much, like the distance, how much does his back hip go up? How fast does it go up? And then what direction does it go up? And so for Alcaraz, we can see, if I zoom in on this, you can probably see right here, his back hip goes up 23.1 inches. So it's basically 2 feet from when he's got his knees fully bent to when he makes contact. That's how much it's going up. And then here is his peak hip velocity at 6.65 miles per hour. So for clarity, we're tracking his back hip, and this is where he is bending his knees. And then here he's got his knees fully bent. And then this right here is his leg drive. So he's jumping, and this is contact right here. So we're measuring this because it is one of the biggest determiners of serve power. If you could improve like one metric, this is probably the second most important metric. The most important measurement mistake we're trying to fix coming up in a second, but this one is huge. So now you're looking at my serve. And if you're wondering, I played D1, rode the bench, but my serve is pretty clean. And here is my vertical hip displacement chart. So again, it's tracking my back hip. Here I am bending my knees. Here's max knee bend. Then I jump, I drive my legs, and there is contact. And if I zoom in, I've got about 15 inches on the nose of vertical hip displacement. That's how high my hip goes up. And then my peak hip velocity here is 3.89 miles per hour. So now we're going to compare me to Alcaraz in this last part of the chart. And that is what this looks like. So here's, first of all, obviously my vertical hip displacement is not nearly as much as Alcaraz. He's at 23 inches, I'm at 15. So he's got about 8 inches more that it goes up. And he's faster. He's at 6.65 miles an hour. I'm at 3.89. I don't feel too bad about that. He's 20 years younger than me, and he's Carlos Alcaraz, and I'm not. But here is the big takeaway for this comparison, is that we are both driving our legs up at the same time. So what that means for me is that I am timing this properly. My technique is clean in terms of my leg drive. And now let's look at a player who's not doing this correctly. So you're looking at a club player named Dan. And Dan is a very good athlete, but he's got some room for improvement with his technique. So we're now looking at his vertical hip displacement chart. And you can see, of course, he is bending his knees, max knee bend, then he jumps, and here is contact. Now, his peak hip velocity here is 5.25 miles an hour. So it was about, a mile, a little bit more than 1 mile an hour faster than me, but he is only getting 10 inches of vertical hip displacement. First of all, part of that is because he's making a mistake called foot around, where he steps, his back foot comes around, but he's not getting nearly as much height on his vertical hip displacement as he could. But then the real mistake here for Dan is when we compare Alcaraz to what Dan is doing. Now, if you remember my chart, Alcaraz and I had our leg drive at the same time. I obviously didn't get as high as him, but we were pushing off. We were driving our legs at the same time. Now, Dan is late. Dan is not driving his legs at the appropriate time. And what that means is the power in his lower body is not making it up into his upper body and then into the tennis ball because it's late. So he's just leaving a lot of MPH on the table simply because he is driving his legs. He is jumping late. So coming up, we have the absolute biggest break I am seeing in the Kinetic Chain. There's a very good chance you're making this mistake and it's costing you a ton of power, probably putting a lot of stress on your shoulder too. So before we get to that, when I talk about the Kinetic Chain, this guy right here is Dr. Mark Kovacs. He is arguably the world's leading expert on the Kinetic Chain. Here he is with Francis Tiafoe and Tommy Paul, and you might have read in the news, Dr. Kovacs is working with Francis right now to help him improve his technique, including his serve. And in 2011, Dr. Kovacs published this study you're looking at right here. It's called an 8-stage model for evaluating the tennis serve, and it was a study of the Kinetic Chain. So if you're not familiar with the term the Kinetic Chain, it's simply a fancy term for how do you generate power from your entire body and transfer all of that power into the tennis ball. And it's a series kind of basically like links in a chain where it starts where you push off the ground, you transfer power through your body, through your arm, through the racket, into the ball. There's 8 stages to it. And in 2011, when he published that, it won him the International Tennis Hall of Fame's Educational Merit Award. This thing has been peer-reviewed twice. It's basically the gold standard for the Kinetic Chain. Now, Dr. Kovacs is also a great tennis player. He won the NCAA. In 2002, he won the NCAA Division I Men's Doubles Championship. He tried to go pro. He blew out his shoulder, and he was trying to figure out, like, why did his body break down? What was up with his technique? So he went back to Auburn to get his PhD in physiology, and that's when he became Dr. Kovacs. And here he is in his lab in Atlanta, Georgia. He's got all sorts of gizmos where he can measure your serve and provide really cool analysis of your kinetic chain. We did an event where that's George right there. He came down. Here's Dr. Kovacs walking him through all of his various results. And the reason I bring all of this up is the computer vision stuff I just showed you. We basically took his lab. We worked with Mark to take his lab, and now we can just do it over the internet using computer vision. So now you don't have to buy an airplane ticket to Atlanta. So now we're going to move on to the single biggest mistake I am seeing at the club level. You got to get this out of your serve. Now on screen, we've got Carlos Alcaraz, and he is at stage 4 of the serve, also known as the racket drop. So the racket drop is universal for good servers. From here, they're going to swing up to contact. You got Alcaraz in the racket drop. Well, here is Serena Williams in the racket drop. Jannik Sinner, Andy Roddick, Iga Swiatek, Sabalenka, Djokovic, Federer, Nadal, Will Hamilton. So here we have an amateur player named Jess. Now, Jess is in the racket drop, and you can see that her racket never gets fully pointed down behind her back. That's a mistake, but it's not the mistake we're looking for here. The mistake she is making, the big mistake, is how she swings from the racket drop up to contact. The computer vision is going to show us this mistake clear as day. This is something if I was like watching your serve, I couldn't see it, but a computer can, because here in this first chart, we've got Carlos Alcaraz in the racket drop. So these dots are all of his joints frozen at that one moment in time. Here we have Jess in the racket drop, same deal. The dots are all of her joints. And then we have Alcaraz and we have Jess at contact. So racket drops over here, contact is over here. Now, this is the big mistake, because here with Alcaraz, there is a little bit of shoulder separation. His right shoulder is slightly higher than his left shoulder, which is the blue dot. But here with Jess, I mean, it's, you know, it's basically the same thing. You know, they're essentially in line. But the difference between this and at contact, now there's a ton of separation with Alcaraz's shoulders. His right hitting arm shoulder is way higher than his left shoulder, but Jess, her shoulders are essentially at the same level. They have not changed. So you might have heard the term shoulder over shoulder. This is one of the most important pieces of the kinetic chain. And if you were taught to serve like you are throwing a ball, where your shoulders rotate around like this, they rotate horizontally, that is very, very problematic in terms of having a good serve. It also puts a ton of stress on your shoulder. They actually need to, your hitting arm shoulder needs to be, like literally they call it shoulder over shoulder, because your hitting arm shoulder comes over. I can't emphasize this enough, not around, over like this. And we can measure it. If we look at the chart here at contact, so we've got a straight line here, and Alcaraz's angle off that straight line is just 20.8 degrees in terms of the angle of his shoulders there, while Jess is way more, 67.6. So Alcaraz, he's got the shoulder over shoulder, but Jess is coming around. So here's why this is such a catastrophic mistake. Earlier I was talking about the leg drive. So about 55% of your power comes from your leg drive. And we can measure that with vertical hip displacement. So with shoulder over shoulder, the reason you need to do it is because you've got all this energy coming up. You got to continue to transfer that energy into your upper body and then into the tennis ball. And that's what happens with the shoulder over shoulder. But with Jess here, she's coming around. So her upper body is moving like this. Is going in the wrong direction, so all of this energy from her lower body is not going to make it in the tennis ball. It's not like the links of the chain aren't there. So I can't tell you how many club players I've seen have this break. This particular break just nukes all of the power you generate in your lower body. You absolutely have to get it out of your serve. So I mentioned earlier, before computer vision, the only way to get these mistakes out of your serve was to fly down to Dr. Kovacs's lab and go through his assessment over 2 days, and that would run you $5,000. But now we can do everything Dr. Kovacs can do in his lab. We can just do it on your phone. Literally all you have to do is film your serve, send it to us, and we can run all of these analyses. It is super cool. And what we've done is put together a program called Serve Lab. So this is my attempt at drawing a cell phone. You just have to film your serve, and then we're going to give you a page where you can upload your serve, and then we are going to generate all sorts of these cool charts analyzing your kinetic chain, showing you where the breaks are, room for improvement, showing you stuff you're doing correctly. And you saw a couple of them earlier. Here's another one. This is a ball trajectory chart. So this is basically tracking your toss. Like, is your toss correct? Because a lot of people obviously struggle with their toss. So the toss is stage 2 of the serve. We'll get to that in a second. I also mentioned earlier vertical hip displacement, how we measure the direction that your back hip is going. Here is Alcaraz. You can see he is straight up, and this is Dan from earlier, and you can see his hip is going in the wrong direction. So his energy is getting released in the wrong direction. And we've even measured people, like there's a D1 college player, 120 mile an hour serve, 25, awesome serve. But we did this and we found out his hip's going in slightly the wrong direction. So even really, really good servers, they could add 3 to 5 miles an hour just by fixing something like this. This is one of those things like, man, I wish I had this when I was in the juniors, because I would have won a lot more matches. So here's how it works. You're going to send us your serve. We're going to generate all of these charts, all of the analysis. Then we're going to email it to you. And then over a 4-week program, week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4, we are going to sync your kinetic chain. And then at the end of the 4 weeks, you will be serving at least 10% faster, or it is free. We can measure how fast you swing. because the computer vision is tracking your racket, so we can just see if you're serving faster, and if you're not, then we'll give you full refund because I don't want your money if we're not delivering. So there's the 4-week program. Each week we're syncing one piece of your kinetic chain, and you are going to get a custom plan. So based on your specific mistakes, the things you need to fix, we're going to say, hey, go do this drill, make this adjustment completely custom to you so you don't have to wade through all sorts of generic content on the internet. This is super targeted so you can improve as fast as possible. And if you're wondering what the 8 stages of Dr. Kovacs's model are, because of course this is done in partnership with Dr. Kovacs. This is his model. We're putting you through his analysis. It's the start, the release, that's the toss. Loading, that's max knee bend, that's when you're storing energy in your lower body. Cocking, that's the racket drop. Acceleration, when you swing up to the ball. Contact, deceleration, and then the finish. So again, each week we're going to sync a couple pieces of the chain, and we're going to give you that custom plan so you can do it as fast as possible. So what we wanted to do to make this just a super awesome, like no-brainer thing to do is this is a screenshot of FYB's complete library. So obviously I can't scroll down on this screenshot, but if you bought them all separately, it would run you $5,004. I added it all up, and you know, when you get in here, there's a ton of cool stuff, like Rule the Net right here is with Martina Navratilova and the Bryan brothers. This is the singles version, the doubles version. How do you get to the net and put away volleys? Here you've got the new rules of singles and the new rules of doubles. That is the analytics for like the strategies with the highest winning percentages with Craig O'Shaughnessy, analytics expert. Used to run analytics for Novak Djokovic. Right here is Volley RX. That is with Gigi Fernandez, 17-time Grand Slam doubles champion Gigi Fernandez. That one is awesome. If you scroll down, there would be tennis over 50. That's how do you reduce wear and tear? How do you play like you're 10 years younger? That's with Dr. Mark Kovacs. So you get lifetime access to our entire library. Instead of paying $5,004, you just get it all for free as like a awesome bonus when you join Serve Lab. We just wanted to hook you up, like I said, make this total no-brainer. And then whenever we release a new program, it just materializes magically in your library. You don't have to pay for that either. And then if you added up Serve Lab, you know, the $5,000 analysis in Dr. Kovacs's lab, and then the lifetime access to FYB's library, if you added all of that up, it would run you $10,004. But you don't got to pay that. Instead of paying $10,004, you can get Serve Lab and lifetime access to FYB's complete library for just one payment of $299 here on this page today. And that button is below, so if you scroll down and click that button, you can check out, and in a few short minutes from now, you can either send us your serve if you got one in the tank, or you can head out, film your serve, and we'll have it by the end of today. So when you pick up a copy, when you join Serve Lab, you're also getting Voxer access to me. So if you aren't familiar with Voxer, it's basically like a walkie-talkie app you put on your phone. So you would go hit some serves. You'd be like, hey, Will, this was working. I had a question about this other thing. And it's going to basically be a voice note straight to my phone, and then I can respond right away. And you just get direct access to me, so we leave absolutely no stone unturned, and you'll have access for the whole 4-week Serve Lab program. So that is the deal. It is, here we go. It's Dr. Kovacs's lab. We've now got it on the internet. It's on your phone. You just have to film your serve. Everything Dr. Kovacs can do in Atlanta, we can now do over the internet. And we turned his lab into the 4-week Serve Lab program. Upload your serve, or excuse me, film your serve, then upload it. We will generate all of the charts. We'll show you what you're doing right. We'll show you where there's some breaks in your kinetic chain. We'll email you your results, and then over the 4 weeks, there's a training each week where we walk you through every stage of the serve. We walk you through the charts so that you understand what you're looking at and it all makes sense and you can see what the breaks are in your kinetic chain. And so every week we sync a couple of the links, and then at the end you got to sync kinetic chain and you'll be serving at least 10% faster or it is free. And then we've got the custom plan so that you are only working on the stuff you need to work on. This is not one size fits all. It is custom for you. And the 8 stages of the kinetic chain are the start, the release, loading, cocking, acceleration, contact, deceleration, and finish. And when you join ServeLab, you also get lifetime access to FYB's complete library of programs, and that includes anything we release in the future. It just is yours on the house. So ServeLab, $5,000 value, lifetime access to FYB's library, $5,004 value. Instead of paying $10K, you can get it all for just one payment of $299. And during the 4-week ServeLab program, you also get Voxer access to me. So that is the deal. I think if you want to make this, look, if you've been struggling with your serve and it hasn't gotten any better, and it's the weakness in your game, I think you're going to love ServeLab. The folks who have been through it are like blown away. They're like, this is the best thing I have ever done for my serve. I think the same is going to be true for you. So do not wait. Do not spend another year or heck, even another month with struggling to improve your serve and it's not getting any better. I think computer vision, it's going to blow you away what this is going to do for your serve. So just scroll down this page, click that button, and literally a couple minutes from right now, you'll be inside the program and you'll be off to the races. So I'm super excited to have you in the program. I think it's going to be transformational, and I can't wait to hear about how much faster, how much more consistent your serve is going to be when you've gone through ServeLab.